Good morning. Welcome to 모닝스페셜. 여러분 안녕하세요. 8월 21일 수요일 최수진의 모닝스페셜입니다. We know how important it is to protect one's rights, and more importantly, how crucial it is to draw a line between fighting for a cause and utter chaos. While millions of people are making sure to have their voices heard, attention is also on those who are striving to underscore the goal of their fight by making sure they're not seen as attempts to destroy their very own home. 최근 홍콩 경찰이 지하철역에서 최루탄을 쏘며 시위대 진압을 강행했다는 보도가 있었는데요. 이후 홍콩에서는 청소 시위라는 특이한 이름의 시위가 벌어지고 있다고 합니다. 청소 시위에 참가한 청년들은 아침 일찍 마스크를 쓰고 양동이와 수건을 들고요. 지하철 벽과 매표기를 닦기도 하고 또 빗자루에 헝겊을 얹어서 역 천장의 최루탄 자국을 지우기도 했다고 합니다. 경찰이 발사한 최루탄 흔적을 지우는 청소 시위대. 어서 빨리 홍콩의 평화가 찾아오기를 기원하는 홍콩 시민들의 염원이 느껴집니다. Now, such selfless acts are indeed true examples of what they're fighting for. And at the end of the day, their battle is over protecting their rights in none other than their own home. With that in mind, let me give you today's quiz question for the first hour. Here it is. An act you do based on other people's needs can be described as being this. 1번, selfless. 2번, selfie. 오늘도 청취자 여러분의 많은 참여 기다리고 있습니다. 퀴즈 정답 보내주신 분들 중에 추첨을 통해서 총 5분께 쿨링 스포츠 젤 보내드리겠습니다. 또 여러분의 소식과 소감, 방송 중 궁금한 질문 있으시면 보내주세요. 짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원에 샵 1045고요. 무료 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용도 가능합니다. Okay, let's kick off today's show with today's global headlines. 세계 각국 언론사들의 어떤 헤드라인이 올라왔는지 살펴보는 시간입니다. Touch Global Headlines.
Hong Kong's chief executive Carrie Lam has offered to set up a platform for dialogue with citizens protesting an extradition bill.
캐리 람 홍콩 행정장관이 범죄인 인도 법안 반대 시위대에 대화 플랫폼을 구성하자고 제안했습니다.
Russia has announced that it will kick off a massive military drill with some 130,000 troops next month.
러시아 국방부가 다음 달 약 13만 명의 군인과 각종 군사 장비를 동원한 대규모 군사 훈련을 실시할 계획이라고 밝혔습니다.
The Kingdom of Bahrain has announced it will participate in an international coalition to ensure security in the Strait of Hormuz.
바레인이 호르무즈 호위 연합에 참여하겠다는 뜻을 공식적으로 밝혔습니다.
The European Union has promised to boost support to Bosnia to support the increasing number of 7,000 migrants in the country.
보스니아의 최근 난민 유입이 늘어나자 유럽연합이 관련 지원을 강화하고 나섰습니다.
India's mission to the moon, known as Chandrayaan-2, has successfully entered lunar orbit.
지난달 22일 발사된 인도의 두 번째 달 탐사선 찬드라얀 2호가 예정대로 달 궤도에 진입했습니다.
Football hooliganism is reportedly returning to the UK, with police describing an increase in the type of violence seen in the 1980s.
영국 축구 훌리건들의 난동이 지난 1980년대 수준으로 다시 늘어나고 있다는 보도가 나왔습니다. And for the headlines and more, I'm joined by Walter. Good morning, 선생님.
Yes, good morning to everybody. Speaking of returning, I'm back from a rather impromptu absence yesterday, so my apologies to any listeners who were surprised by Sean filling in, but certainly my big thanks to Sean for doing that.
네. 김아람 님이요. Good morning입니다요. 이종강 님도 Good morning 수진쌤. Good morning 월터쌤. 조주희 님도 멋지다. 청소 시위. 이렇게 보내주셨고요. 엄위출 님도 월터쌤 하트. 이렇게 보내주셨습니다. The opening today was about a very unique type of protest. Protesters who've decided to clean up. And I think That is a really selfless act.
It certainly is, and that's a very interesting choice of words. Selfless.
Yeah, selfless, indeed, it is.
If listeners are paying attention to the quiz, that might be helpful.
All right, well, that actually takes us to our very first headline. Let's take a look.
Headline number 1. Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, has offered to set up a platform for dialogue with citizens protesting an extradition bill.
캐리 람 홍콩 행정장관이 범죄인 인도 법안 반대 시위대에 대화 플랫폼을 구성하자고 제안했습니다.
So, of course, this is coming after the literally weeks and weeks and weeks of demonstrations there in Hong Kong. The chief executive there, Carrie Lam, has said that she will immediately set up this platform that will enable dialogue with citizens and allegedly tackle complaints against the police. And of course, this, as I said, is coming after these very long protests. One of the largest was last Sunday with some estimated 1.7 million protesters there. And significantly, it was in very, very heavy rainfall.
Now, weeks back, there were protesters, groups of protesters, who had actually called for some sort of dialogue on their part. At the time, that did not take place, but Carrie Lam has said, I will talk to those who wanted to talk to me first, and, one by one, and we'll go through each of these different groups.
Yes, indeed. She did say that this platform for dialogue would be open and direct, and that the government would reach out to people from all walks of life and from different political backgrounds.
네, 처음에 이제 캐리람 장관에게 접근했던 대화를 시도했었던 그룹들부터 시작해서 대화를 하고 싶다 이런 의사를 밝혔습니다. It does come on the heels of a peaceful protest just a few days ago. It does seem that the Hong Kong government was in favor of this recent protest that ended peacefully, and maybe that's the move that they're going for.
Right. That most recent protest that I had mentioned just a moment ago was said to have about 1.7 million protesters there, and again was held in torrential rain downpours. Another thing that Executive Lam has said is that she will establish a watchdog, the Independent Police Complaints Council, or IPCC, that they would hire overseas experts to help carry out a fact-finding study into the recent incidents of alleged police brutality there. She says that a report should come from that within 6 months.
지난 18일 170만에 해당되는 시위대가 평화적으로 시위를 끝낸 것에 대해서 홍콩 행정부가 긍정적으로 평가하고 그에 대한 제스처를 본 게 아니냐라는 전문가들의 분석이 있습니다. But not all is rosy because Hong Kong, at least Carrie Lam, has said in terms of setting up an independent sort of fact-finding committee into the police actions, that may not take place. And that's actually one of the key requests by the protesters.
It is. Currently, the 5 main things for which people are, the demonstrators or protesters, the 5 main things for which they are seeking action is, number 1, the complete withdrawal of the now suspended extradition bill, the setting up of this independent body to investigate police violence, a halt to the characterization of the protests as, quote, riots, also an amnesty for those who have already been arrested, and finally a resumption of political reform to allow for the free election of Hong Kong's leader and legislature, as well as Lam's resignation.
So whether or not this dialogue and conversation will take place is pretty much still up in the air, really.
It is up in the air. An expression that comes to mind is watch this space.
그렇습니다. 시위대 핵심 요구인 경찰 강경 진압에 대한 어떤 독립적인 조사위원회를 구성해달라. 이것에 대해서는 사실상 캐리람 장관이 거부 의사를 밝혔습니다. 그렇기 때문에 과연 이제 이 대화 플랫폼이 예정대로 진행이 될지는 아직 미지수라고 합니다. Let's go on to headline number 2.
Russia has announced that it will kick off a massive military drill with some 130,000 troops next month.
러시아 국방부가 다음 달 약 13만 명의 군인과 각종 군사 장비를 동원한 대규모 군사훈련을 실시할 계획이라고 밝혔습니다.
So the drill here actually, although the headline mentions Russia, this is actually a multinational drill taking place with a combination of some 7 nations, including China, Pakistan, India, and 4 others as well. As it says, there will be some 130,000 troops involved in that, roughly 20,000 1,000 units of military hardware and weapons, roughly 600 aircraft systems as well being involved in this, which is said to take place from September 16th to 21st.
And those 7 countries, of course, would be countries that are not related to the ex-Soviet Union, but other countries like Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, obviously former USSR nations, they will be taking part as well. 외국 군대는 이제 지금 말씀해 주신 것처럼 중국, 인도, 파키스탄이 포함이 되고요. 그 외에도 옛 소련 국가들이 함께 참여를 해서 이번에 국제 테러리즘에 맞서는 어떤 대규모 군사 훈련이 실시될 예정입니다. And this is going to take place from mid-September. And it's, I believe, the 16th to the 21st?
Yes, indeed. That's the information that I've seen as well. September 16th for the kickoff of those drills running through until the 21st. Over that period of time, it's said that the exercises will take place in 2 so-called phases. The first stage or the first phase will involve drills for combating terrorism, repelling airstrikes, and conducting reconnaissance. The second phase of the exercises will focus on managing troops during fire strikes and attacking simulated enemies.
Talking about enemies, some experts are saying that this is a sign from Russia's part to show that its so-called enemies should be aware of these coalitions that Russia has with other countries.
Well, it certainly could be seen as that. It is not the first time for these particular exercises to be held. The previous such exercises were back in 2015, and at that time there were about 95,000 troops involved in them, so certainly they are much larger this time around.
네, 이번 훈련의 목적은 이제 군비태세 점검도 있지만요. 러시아와 이제 외국 군대 간의 이런 어떤 협력 수준을 과시하는 데에도 있다. 이렇게 분석이 되고 있습니다. Let's go on to headline number 3.
The Kingdom of Bahrain has announced that it will participate in an international coalition to ensure security in the Strait of Hormuz.
바레인이 호르무즈 호위 연합에 참여하겠다는 뜻을 공식적으로 밝혔습니다.
Now, of course, this is in response to a U.S. request to join a coalition, something that we've spoken about previously. The coalition there so far had been only the U.S. and the U.K. Bahrain now is the second country to join the United States in that coalition after the U.K. joined the U.S. as well.
그렇습니다. 이제 현재 유럽에서는 영국이 유일하게 이 호르무즈 연합에 참여하겠다 이런 의사를 밝혔고요. 그 다음에 이제 두 번째 국가로 바레인이 있는데 Bahrain is a very complex country because 70% of the people in Bahrain actually belong to the Shia side, whereas the governing body of Bahrain belongs to the Sunni side. And the Sunni side is, of course, pro-US. So we'll have to see how the dynamics play into part.
Definitely a big part of it where you do have a minority governing a majority. And as you said, indeed, that minority governing is supporting the U.S. In response to that support, the U.S. Central Command released a statement on Monday saying that it appreciates Bahrain's decision to take what it calls an active role in preserving the freedom of navigation, promoting maritime security, and de-escalating regional tensions.
And Bahrain is actually very sensitive to any action that Iran may take, especially because Iran is in favor of the Shias. And of course, as we just said, most of the population belong to that particular group, and the US is against that.
That's indeed the case there as well. So as you say, it is a complex matter, and certainly we'll have to wait and see if more countries do join that coalition. Regardless if they do join or not, it'll be interesting to see what activities are conducted by at least those 3 parties, the US, the UK, and Bahrain.
네, 그렇습니다. 호르무즈 호위 연합은요, 이제 미국이 걸프 해역에서 이란의 위협에 대응하겠다는 그런 연합이고요. 바레인은 물론 수니파 왕정이 다스리고 있지만 수니파는 이제 친미죠. 그렇지만 국민의 대다수가 시아파입니다. 시아파의 경우에는 이제 좀 더 반대 입장을 취하는 것으로 그렇게 알고 있습니다. 바레인 당국에서는 근데 이란이 자국 내에 있는 이런 시아파를 돕는다, 또 반정부 시위를 선동한다라는 얘기를 그 전에도 굉장히 많이 했기 때문에 어떤 이란의 개입에 대해서 굉장히 예민해요. 그렇기 때문에 이번에 호르무즈 호위 연합에 참여한 것으로 그렇게 볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. Let's go on to headline number 4.
The European Union has promised to boost support to Bosnia to support the increasing number of 7,000 migrants in the country.
보스니아에서 최근 난민 유입이 늘어나자 유럽연합이 관련 지원을 강화하고 나섰습니다.
So this most recent support, there has been support in the past as well, and we can get to that in just a moment, but this most recent support from the European Union has promised some 10 million euros in aid to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the funds are set aside to build new reception centers, and then of course to support, as we said, the more than 7,000 migrants currently based in that Balkan state.
그 보스니아 헤르체고비나 같은 경우에는 최근에 난민 유입이 굉장히 많이 늘어났다고 합니다. 근데 특히 2018년부터는 서유럽으로 향하는 난민들이 경유국으로 보스니아 헤르체고비나를 선택한다고 하죠. 이제 지리적으로 그 위치를 하고 있기 때문에 그러는데요. 대부분의 난민들은 이제 보스니아를 통과하고 그다음에 계속 서쪽으로 갑니다. 그렇지만 여러 가지 문제들 때문에 결국은 이제 보스니아를 떠나지 못하고 머무는 난민들도 상당히 많다고 합니다.
Right. A big part of that is Croatia, a EU member state, and many of the migrants have come through Bosnia there since, as you said, 2018. Bosnia then becoming essentially a key transit country on that route that ultimately would lead to Croatia, again, an EU member state.
Right.
We talked about the issue of funding. Again, going back to 2018, the EU has funded some 34 million euros since that time.
네. EU에서는 이제 1,000만 유로를 추가 지원하기로 했고요. 우리 돈으로는 한 130억 원입니다. 그래서 작년 초부터 난민 문제와 관련해서 보스니아에 지원한 금액이 총 3,400유로, 우리 돈으로 한 450억 원이 됩니다. Let's move on to headline number 5.
India's mission to the moon, known as Chandrayaan-2, has successfully entered lunar orbit.
지난달 22일 발사된 인도의 두 번째 달 탐사선 찬드라얀 2호가 예정대로 달 궤도에 진입했습니다.
So as the name suggests, this is India's second lunar exploration mission, and it has entered lunar orbit, and that comes nearly a month after it had blasted off, of course, there from India. In response, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has hailed that mission as, quote, an important step in the landmark journey.
네. 그래서 인도의 이제 두 번째 달 탐사선이 예정대로 달 궤도에 진입했다는 내용인데요. 현지 시간이라고 해야 될까요? 인도 기준입니다. 20일 오전 9시 정도에 궤도에 올랐다라는 발표가 있었습니다. Now this is comprised of several different parts. I understand there's something called the Bikram and there's something also called the Pragyan, I think it is.
Yep.
These two parts will be operating separately, one by one.
Indeed, I think ultimately we could say there are three parts, and the simpler names are an orbiter, that is a craft which orbits the moon, as we're talking about, which contains all of the parts.
네,
yes,
네.
indeed. A second part there would be a lander, so that's the vehicle then that will separate
착륙선, 네.
from that orbiter to eventually land on the moon, which is scheduled for September 7th. And then there is a rover, which would deploy from that lander, and a rover is a small vehicle that can drive around the surface.
그렇죠. 탐사 장비가 되겠네요. 그래서 먼저는 이제 착륙선이 한 1년 동안 궤도선이요. 1년 동안 궤도를 돌면서 표면을 촬영하게 되고요. 대기 연구를 수행하게 됩니다. 그 다음에는 탐사 장비 로버가 임무를 수행하게 되는데요. 지구 시간으로는 한 14일 정도 동안 이 로버가 임무를 수행한다고 하네요. And hopefully it will become the fourth country in the world to have achieved this landmark milestone.
Definitely, we'll be having to pay close attention to that date of September 7th for the landing. As you said, the launching of the rover, should that landing be successful, would be a bit later. That is indeed correct. And India's first mission to the moon was back in 2008. However, it did not land on the lunar surface.
그렇군요. 일단은 이제 궤도 안에 진입했다는 소식을 지금 전해드렸는데 달에 착륙할 예정인 날짜는 9월 7일입니다. Let's go on to our final headline.
Headline number 6, football hooliganism is reportedly returning in the UK, with police describing an increase in the type of violence seen in the 1980s.
영국 축구 훌리건들의 난동이 지난 1980년대 수준으로 다시 늘어나고 있다는 보도가 나왔습니다.
So in terms of that reference to the 80s, that was really a reference to the type of violence, the severity of the violence, and we can maybe touch upon that in a moment. But just looking at the increase of the actual incidence of violence, that has grown from an incident rate of 727 such hooliganism incidents in the 2012 to 2013 season. That's increased now to 1,128 acts of hooliganism in the most recent season, 2017 to 2018.
네, 그래서 2012년에서 13년도에는 그 시즌 동안은 한 720건 이상, 727건이네요, 정확히는. 그 정도의 이제 훌리거니즘이 발생을 했다라는 통계가 있는데요. 2017년과 18년에는 이 숫자가 굉장히 많이 늘어서 1,128건으로 늘었다고 합니다. What sort of things are we looking at here?
Right. If we look at the actual types of violence, and all of them, at least the ones that were reported, have shown increases again from that roughly 5-year period. One of those would be common assault. That increased by some 24% in that just past year alone.
Yeah.
Hate crime has risen by 67%. And the use of pyrotechnics, those are things that burn, such as flares or fireworks, that has increased by 21%.
네, 어떤 폭행이 일어났는지 좀 구체적으로 살펴보자면은 일단은 일반적으로 그냥 폭행이라고 부르는 건수가 24% 늘었고 증오범죄, hate crime 67% 늘었고요. 그 다음에는 화염물질을 사용한 폭력은 21% 증가했다고 합니다. Hooliganism, of course, dates back to the 70s and 80s when it was just terrible, and it talks about these very over-enthusiastic fans that become violent. Right?
Well, and a big part of it, too, is that it's often planned. So this is planned before the match. So it's not something that's happening in response to the match. And I think that's what differentiates it just from common everyday violence.
Right.
I think when it's classified as hooliganism, that means that there was some premeditation there.
네, 그러니까 훌리건 자체는 경기장에서 난동을 부리는 그런 극성스러운 축구 팬을 뜻하지만 훌리거니즘이라고 하면은 어떤 난동을 생각하면 될 것 같습니다. Those are our headlines for this morning. Let's remind our listeners of the quiz.
Well, our quiz today, certainly something much more positive than hooliganism. An act you do based on other people's needs can be described as being blank. Would that be number 1, selfless, or number 2, selfie?
네. If you know the answer, send it in to us. 짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원에 샵 1045, 또 무료 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용 가능합니다. 추첨을 통해서 총 5분께 쿨링 스포츠 젤 보내드릴게요. We'll be right back with news focus and your messages after Roy Orbison sings You Got It.